You're good, Jordan.
You're good. It's just so good.
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Friday, February 2nd. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Eric Lindquist. We are brought to you by Sleeper. We have a 9-game slate on our hands, and it's fantastic. All games locked within an hour of the opening tip. We should have some fun here. So you guys should hit that like button if you want to watch NBA Live before lock after this, that is, or else this stream is just going to go away. If not, if you hit that like button, stay right here. We will be airing all the way up until 7 p.m. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. Now, I'm realizing that I should change that like thing to be like, you got to buy the Sims to get the stream or something. I need to monetize this differently. Eric, what's up?
Not much. Just a quiet, uneventful day here for you and I. Just looking at NBA, trying to figure out how we're going to make some freaking money tonight. So very excited about this slate. I like this slate a lot. I like the fact that it is very condensed in terms of like how long I need to be at my computer. Happy Friday, everybody.
I'm excited that the moment 8 o'clock hits, or even hopefully a little bit earlier than that, I'm going to be very excited to just pack it in for the rest of the night, sit back, watch some basketball, and hopefully win some money. That's the plan, at least.
Yeah, let's do that. You've been. It's so ironic because like you brought it up before, like 3.5 years ago, my first show, you won, I think 30 or 40K, very first one right out of the gate.
30K.
And 30K. Okay. Right out of the gate. And then just recently we started doing shows together here again. And I've been running insanely hot. So I think it's your turn today. I'm ready for you to take down the W. I'll just take second. You can have first tonight.
That's fine. I can absolutely handle those terms. So agreed.
Deal.
That this is a verbal contract. This is binding. I get first
Perfect.
today. Completely agree.
And if I get first, I will get you a drink. I'll Venmo you. Done.
Fantastic. I assume it's going to be like some sort of whatever the special is, dollar beer joint, but it'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah, you caught on. All
right, here we go. First game up. LA Clippers, 12-point favorites in Detroit, 238 total. On the Clippers side, nothing all that interesting to talk about in terms of injuries right now. We're not I just broke my own injury report link. Still got Zubats out. That's the only thing that matters. On the Detroit side, Beef Stew going to be out for a bit. Muscala in the concussion protocol. Cade Cunningham is probable. We've got about 10% ownership coming into Kawhi. Just shy of that for James Harden. Are you liking those two guys? Are you trying to get to more of the Clippers? What do you see here?
Yeah, not a ton outside of, your general Kawhi, James Harden. If you want to run into a share of Russell Westbrook, I don't think it's the craziest thing ever if it's a blowout or something. But even then, I don't really find this team to be all that necessary. You kind of want to get to Kawhi in some of these spots. 125 implied team total here for the Clippers today. That is hefty. And it's a team that gets Cade Cunningham back here for Detroit that they're 7th in pace over the course of this season. I think that he probably helps the chances of Kawhi playing more minutes than less minutes. So I guess there's certain pluses there. But, just from a projection standpoint, we've got him around 46 fantasy points. If he falls in lineups, I feel like that's kind of the thing I say about a lot of times whenever we have Clippers on these kind of slates. If you fall into a couple lineups of Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, they're guys who can put up 60. So enjoy it. Have fun with it. They're going to be lower owned than other pieces on this slate. So go ahead if you want, but I don't see how in one lineup or even like a 20 max you get to any noticeable amount of them.
Yeah, I'm dead on the field on Kawhi. 10% of my ownership, 10% for the field. I'm dead on for Harden, 8% and basically 8%. He's 7% owned. I have 8. Actually, we got ownership 54 seconds ago.
Yeah, I guess the one question, the thing to kind of make note of is that Paul George, they're announcing, is going to be on some kind of like a limit. So 28 minutes of him, I mean, does it bolster Leonard and Harden that much? Because they're still going to be staggering. It's going to be a lot of the same rotations. It's just like they're still going to start the game off together. It doesn't feel like it changes all that much for me when I'm going through rates.
I don't think it's going to, like, if he's playing 28 minutes or 31 minutes, I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah, same.
DB Average Pilot hit us with the super chat. Said, smash that like button. Great job, guys. Hashtag rise and grind. Couldn't agree more. Appreciate the super chat, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Detroit. Do I want to accept this correction? No, I don't want to try changing random formulas that I didn't click on. Definitely don't need to do that.
So much anxiety. Just even you saying that takes me back to finance class and like getting yelled at all the time. All the time I would get yelled at by my teacher.
Weird. I basically just taught those courses. Too smart.
Thanks, pal.
There's no ownership coming in to Detroit. 5% to Asar Thompson is the mark that we have right now. I don't have much interest in Detroit. I'll have a little bit of interest in Danilo Gallinari if he's starting at the 4 today. He took over for Mike Muscala after he picked up that concussion. We ended up seeing Danilo Gallinari start the second half. They're either going to do that or Kevin Knox. I think you can go either way. But if it's Gallo, 3,300 power forward center, he becomes the only guy I actually care about for the Pistons.
Yeah, 17 minutes. I'd put him around 22 minutes, I think, in that spot. Probably a minute or so less just because of the blowout concern, because of, they were playing Cleveland there in that spot. Obviously a different setup here, but I think he fits well in terms of like you have Kawhi, Paul George, James Harden in that starting unit. They don't really have centers that you're all that worried about there, where on the other side of things, like if you get to a couple of lineups where he starts at the 4, he's a 0.93 DraftKings points per minute guy this season. 22 minutes of him might fall into a couple of lineups, but there's no doubt going to be news that pops up later here that probably makes him unappealing to just like say, oh, I want to have him in 20% of my lineups or something like that. But yeah, he'll probably fall into a couple for me as well if he starts.
Otherwise, I have very little interest in this Pistons team. Not exactly a great spot for Detroit.
I'm playing 50 lineups. I have 0 Detroit players in any of them right now.
Only guy I've got is Gallo.
Okay, that's fair.
And not a lot either. The Miami Heat are up next, 8-point favorites in Washington, 228 total. Now, we are seeing a little bit of love here. We do have no Duncan Robinson. It's funny to see like Jamal Cain's questionable and Orlando Robinson is available. I don't find any of those pieces of information to be all that relevant, but we do have some ownership here. Around 10% to Bam, close to it for Caleb Martin, 15 for Josh Richardson, and around 15 for Tyler Hero. Basically no ownership to Jimmy Butler. What do you want to do here for Miami? Because they obviously have a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, fantastic matchup. I have no idea what to even think about this Josh Richardson thing because the usage came out of nowhere. 26% usage. I don't think that's going to be replicated playing alongside Hero, Bam, Butler, Terry Rozier. Like, I find that to be a little bit of an outlier. So this feels a little bit chasey to me here, sitting at 3,500 and having it there. Again, if he falls into a couple of lineups, I'm not saying that's an issue, but it's a 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy. And I got to think as Rozier, they've had their struggles here getting everything put together. There's no struggling anybody has facing a Washington team that is number 1 in pace in the entire NBA here at the moment at 102.7 possessions per 48 minutes. Third to last in adjusted defensive rating on dunks and threes. For me, it just comes down to like, I think I want to get to more of the Hero, Bam, even some Jimmy Butler in my life at 7,800. That's still an advantageous tag, but I don't quite want to be playing 15% Josh Richardson, currently have him in 2 of 50, and I think that's probably going to stay the same.
I'm at 8% for Jay Rich, so we're on the same sort of page here. I'm getting a little bit less. I thought he'd be somebody that I would get and the field wouldn't, but that seems to have changed, at least as of now. I am getting to a lot of Tyler Hero, 6,700 point guard, shooting guard. We have him at 14% ownership. We have him neutral from a leverage perspective. He's in 32% of my lineups right now, and I don't really hate it. Feels like Tyler Hero destroying Washington is like the way that Tyler Hero gets his stuff. I don't know. It just, when I look at it, it's like, yeah, of course he's going to go out there and bludgeon the Wizards, and like Jimmy Butler can keep it in second gear for 48 minutes. At least that's my hope. Yeah,
it won't be like Joel Embiid against the Spurs, but it'll be something, Tyler Hero-ish, where it's like, yeah, of course he's going to look good in this matchup. I think it's also a good thing probably to have Jordan Poole actually be playing in this basketball game. So saw that he was expected to play here this morning, and that maintains. That's useful because anybody else coming in is going to be a better defender because it's impossible for them not to be. So having Jordan Poole out there, useful for a Tyler Hero there, but Yes, it's more about the tag, obviously, 6,700. I expect that he probably has the highest usage out of everybody come season's end, playing in this rotation. I'm not sure if you feel the same way about that, but I currently have him slotted to have the most usage in the entire Miami Heat team going forward.
Same. So do I.
Okay. So
And I
that's
hope he does
really
at least
fun
today.
for the Wizards. Yeah, exactly. That's fun for the Wizards for sure. Do you have any Bam? Because this is somebody that I don't have that I would like to have in my life going up against Washington, but that feels like a spot that it's just hard for me to land on him when I'm getting to Hero. I'm getting to Jimmy Butler at 7,800. I don't have Josh Richardson, obviously, but like 8,400 is pretty advantageous going up against this front court, and yet I don't have him at the moment.
I don't have him at all. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is stopping me from that, who I have quite a bit of at just 9%. He's 8,200, also has that power forward eligibility. Better matchup against Golden State, too. So I think any Bam that I could have been getting is going to Jaren Jackson. But I certainly wouldn't care about, like, I would happily get some Bam Adebayo against the Wizards. And I would feel very, like, if I just looked at it and it said, oh, you have 28%, I'd be like, nice, I'm getting a stand on Bam against Washington. I just don't happen to have it, but I would want it.
Yeah, it feels just uncomfortable too, because like Bam's not somebody that I'm that terrified of fading in its current iteration with all these other pieces. The production hasn't really been there the same way. That's kind of what you would expect when you add a Terry Rozier. You have a healthy Jimmy Butler, and Tyler Hero's been there for a little while, but at the same time, just wanted to at least point out that like I don't feel good about not having him here, considering he's pulling around 10%, and there is a very good case for him to put up 55, 60 in this spot. So one of the more uncomfortable spots is I just like look at it on paper where, yeah, I would like to see him in some lineups, but he's currently not there. Doubt he gets there.
Now on the Wizards side, we did get Landry Shamet is available. Jordan Poole is available, but no Isaiah Livers, and Marvin Bagley is out for this one. Only guy we have in double digits of ownership is obviously Corey Kispert, 3,400, small forward, power forward, 14% owned. Single digit ownership to everybody else, single digit optimal rate to everybody else, although Kyle Kuzma is knocking on the door of 10%. I actually have 10% of Jordan Poole right now at 5,600, point guard, shooting guard eligible. I like him as a sort of GPP flyer. I kind of always do, because every once in a while I just expect him to be the guy that we saw 3 years ago or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't really need that Corey Kispert ownership though.
Nope, don't need it at all. I get why it's there at the moment, but it's going to turn into something else later. So I'm not really even acknowledging 14%, because if it actually was 14%, I would be floored just with the amount of news that can break potentially. So I'm getting Tyus Jones the most out of anybody on this team. The guy you didn't bring up, 6,200, over a fantasy point per minute guy. And going up against Miami here, you look at the specific matchup on the other side, more Josh Richardson, Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier. These are not noted defenders within quote unquote Heat culture. So I don't think about it. It's pretty positionless in the NBA, but like, I do think Tyus Jones is probably in the best spot of anybody amongst this starting rotation. So I have a little bit of him at 6,200, not getting to Kuzma, even though he's projecting out really well in our stuff. And then Daniel Gafford, somebody I generally get to as well, 5,900, really hard to talk myself into that up against Bam and Miami with the pace of this one. So a 110 team total, not what you normally see for Washington. Yeah, it's just Tyus Jones and then moving on.
I wouldn't mind having any Tyus Jones. I just have the Jordan Poole version of it right now, but not with any sort of volume, just 10%. It's just a bad spot against Miami. They're incredibly slow and certainly lean more defense than offense.
Pretty easy.
Well, guys, hit that like button. That would help us out a ton. 1,200 people in here, 168 likes. That means 1,000 of you must not want to watch NBA Live before lock. You want your screen to go black. What I really need you guys to do, though, is watch that show later tonight from 6 to 7. You get NBA Live before lock. I believe it's Greg and Belman tonight, so make sure you're tuning in. I also want you guys to use our avatar. Go to stochastic.com/avatar, grab that logo, use it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, or Yahoo, because if you do, and you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, you get 1 month of whichever package you're looking for, not the all access package, people. Sorry. Up to, it's like a $200 value. We can't go all the way to the tippy top. But if you want the NBA package, you get projections, ownership, the boom bust tool, the Sims tool, the lineup generator, contest generator, premium Discord. And all you have to do is tweet your result at Stochastic HOF. Show us the lineup, show us your contest. We want to promote you, and it gets a little benefit for us. It's a win-win situation, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So click the link in the description or the one that pops up in the chat. Head to stochastic.com/avatar. Use it. Phoenix Suns, 3.5-point favorites in Atlanta, 249 total. We've got quite a bit of ownership coming into Bradley Beal right now, 20% owned, a little bit of negative leverage. We also have Kevin Durant in for about 10% ownership. Devin Booker getting not a lot of love, right around 6% owned. No one else for Phoenix, though, is getting any love, that's for sure. How are you handling Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker?
Yeah, I have a little too much Bradley Beal right now, but I'm okay with it. This game starts half an hour after the initial two games that we just talked about, and there's not a lot that I'm interested in there. I currently have 30%. I would imagine that it would turn into other stuff here later, but I'm okay with it as it stands. I mean, we're talking about 6,500. The tag rightfully has just started to dip. And the minutes continue to be there. He only had a 16.4% usage last time out against Brooklyn. Kevin Durant going back to Brooklyn, Devin Booker all the time. Like, it made a lot of sense that was going to be a spot that maybe it flattened out for him, but still going to have around a 22, 23% usage, I think, within the construction of this team. And, putting that in as the baseline in 36 minutes, he's somebody who pops for me. So Bradley Beal, I bet I still have a little bit come lock, even if I trim that down a little bit. But Kevin Durant, not getting to nearly as much as the 10% the field has as well. 1 of 50 for me. Nurkic coming off of an absolute Nurk bomb. 1 of 50 for me. So this is yet another unappealing spot. Devin Booker, I wish I was getting as well, but currently 0 of 50. Just a team that's kind of hits a phenomenal spot against Atlanta, but they just cannibalize each other so much. And you're not getting a discount on any of those three guys in Durant, Nurkic, Booker. You are on Beal, which is why I think he's popping for me.
I have 12% of Durant, so right with the field. I am way under the field, though, on Beal. I only have about 8%. I'm finding that ownership a little heavy for me right now, and it seems to be coming back out in my exposures. And then I'm neutral for Booker. I just don't have a lot of the Phoenix side. I don't have anything else to add here.
Yeah, again, there's so many clear-cut spots that we're talking about early, and then it's going to get a little bit more muddled, but for the most part, this is a pretty straight up slate. And, again, on the surface, the way I used to play DFS, it's like I would see Bradley Beal at 20% and be like, oh, there's so many 6K pivots. I just talked about Tyus Jones, who you can get to. And, at shooting guard, we're going to get, something from news that's going to pop up here later. But for the most part, I'm not panicked about it. It's something that if I end up getting to, it's Atlanta on the other side. It's a 250 total. I'm not heartbroken about it, but yeah, yet another spot where salaries, you got to keep that in mind. And that's where I just think all the other guys from Phoenix, as much as I like them, and they would be awesome to have in a couple of tournament lineups, they're just not showing up for me.
The Atlanta side seems like a tough sell today. Highest owned dude is Trae Young at 4%. Highest optimal guy is Trae Young at 5%. I have 8% of Trae. I had a little bit more earlier today. He's just sort of that like guard pivot at the top end that is a little easier to get to for me. If you want to say that that's Steph Curry or Devin Booker or De'Aaron Fox at 8,900, like there's a lot of options up there, but I got a little bit of Trae and basically nothing else.
I will say this is one of those where I kind of was screwing around with it earlier today, where taking DeAndre Hunter out, I know he's on a minutes limit. I know that it's only 17 or so, but I think a lot of those minutes, they secure up Jalen Johnson. I think he's going to play 36 probably no matter what, but definitely in that circumstance, I would have some Okongwu interest there at 4,600 because Phoenix on the other side of this one, like there's a chance, like their dogs coming into this one. Okongwu is kind of the guy that they go to when they need more offense, when they kind of need to turn on that switch. Power forward center, 4,600. He played 26 minutes against the Lakers in a spot where he, played pretty nicely. And you had been talking about him a little bit with some of the shooting struggles for him in recent games. 0.9 fantasy point per minute guy, 4,600. I would have a lot more interest in a Kongwu in the event that you had Hunter ruled out for injury management. So I've got that one on my radar as somebody that I think is going to slip through the cracks. Otherwise, this is not a team that's all that appealing to be getting to. There's a reason everybody's sub 5%, but I just want to have a Kongwu out there as a $4,600 piece that I think looks a little bit better and somebody who would probably sneak into my lineups if Hunter's out.
Do you have any other shares of anybody else here?
Two of DeJounte Murray. I actually had 4 of 50 here with Trae Young, so what, 8% of him there. I'm probably okay with that to some extent. Like, I get double over the field. I think the only reason that he's popping like that is because he's 3.7% owned here. So, for me, I'll just refresh this here. But yeah, 4 of 50, whatever. It's Trae Young. It's Phoenix on the other side of this one. This is a game with a hefty little totals, so I'd be all right with it. But yeah, it's a little bit surprising to see it going to Trae Young and not to Devin Booker there at 9,900, considering the matchup's better for him. It's a pace-up spot for him, but such is life.
Such is life. Sacramento Kings, 4-point favorites in Indiana, 248 total. One guy pulling a ton of love here. That's going to be Kevin Huerter. Minutes have been up as of late, 5,100. Shooting guard only 35% owned. Now, he is pulling a bit of negative leverage, but he's still 25% optimal. After that, we've got Sabonis right around 10% ownership. We've got Keegan Murray right around 10% ownership. Not much else coming in here. Let's start with Kevin Huerter. How you feeling?
Not great, but I've got just about that, if not a little bit more. Let me see where to go. I currently have 40% of him. So there you are, Kevin Huerter. I get it. It's just 5,100. The minutes are up. The ball handling has been up 39, 37 minutes here. It's ridiculous what we're seeing here. They've really condensed down these minutes, and Vezenkov being out is going to shore it up for Harrison Barnes to play 35 as well. That's another piece that I'm getting quite a bit of here. It's the best matchup you can have on the other side. It's Washington and Indy 1-2 in any capacity, and seeing Kevin Huerter at 5,100 is just, it's a misprice for what his role is currently for this team. Domantas Sabonis, I'm getting well over the field of the 12% number there as well. Keegan Murray, I'm over to as well. I mean, this is a team that down the line, I'm getting to just about double the field, almost everybody outside of Huerter, where I'm just a little bit over on.
Only guy I have is Huerter, right at the field mark. I don't have any of Sabonis, who is, per our show this morning, a superb play. Don't love the verbiage, but that's fine. One of these days in the near future, Malik Monk is going to play like 28 minutes and win somebody a slate. I wish that I could be there, but it seems like it's going to be a pretty costly endeavor to try to hunt that one down.
I think you're going to have to wait until the deadline. This feels like a team that's going to have to move pieces around or do something. I don't like it the way it's currently constructed as is. The way you feel about Malik Monk, I also feel about Trey Lyles, where he's going to play 25, 26 minutes in one of these spots too, where Harrison Barnes isn't completely in fuego and Keegan Murray isn't knocking down shots. And you're just going to see Trey Lyles come in a rotation and smash. 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy is better than that of Barnes by a landslide over the course of an entire sample size of this season. But yeah, this is also another spot, 3,200. I wish I were getting there on him, but I'm getting to everybody else. So yeah, it would appear. What do you think about De'Aaron Fox here? Considering he's 2.4%. I don't like narratives. I think they suck for the most part, unless it's, Dorian Finney-Smith and his dad gets out of jail and you're going to bet the points prop there in that spot. But De'Aaron Fox, 8,900, getting all-star snubbed. I don't think he should have been an all-star, so it's not a snub to me, but it is to him. No. I think going up against Halliburton would be awfully useful here if Halliburton ends up playing, but is Fox somebody you have any of at all?
No, but I kind of wish I did. 8,900, price is down. He's been dog shit lately. A fantasy point per minute over the last 30 days. We're talking about a guy that's like a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy normally. That is a gigantic reduction. I don't have him projected anywhere near that one rate. I have him at 1.25. Still not showing up for me though. Kind of frustrating, honestly. I thought this price tag would bring it out, but it doesn't appear to be doing that.
So I took him and I put him at 1 and 1.3 here in this spot, and I definitely got to him. But again, that was kind of forced. It's the best pace up spot you can get. It would be nice to have Halliburton out there as well, who will push the pace for whatever time he's on the floor for those 22, 24 minutes. But for the most part, it just feels like a glaring omission to me, the way I think about things from a tournament perspective. He's somebody that if I were hand building out a single entry and I was really, really chalky, it's like, well, yeah, I'll play De'Aaron Fox against Indy. That makes sense. But currently not showing up for me. Wish he was.
Yeah, if you're hand building and you want to be like, okay, instead of taking SGA, I'm going to take Fox and use that saving somewhere else. I think that makes a ton of sense. It just doesn't appear to be happening for me right now. But it makes, at some point in time, he's going to stop being a 1 fantasy point per minute guy. Or maybe he won't. Yeah, who knows?
Or Harrison Barnes is going to actually just settle the F down, because whatever the hell he's been doing here the last couple of weeks, I'm not sure if he wants to get out of Sacramento or what the deal is, but like he was shooting like 20, 24 shots against Atlanta and Golden State. And obviously this will be a major pace up spot for him yet again, but some ridiculous usage in a couple of those games. I don't expect that to happen long term. So I obviously think this is going to shift back to Fox in a pretty considerable way. Kind of want to be early to that party and sub 9K. It's just like you're not getting a discount on his tag, considering he was 8,700 last game.
Yeah,
didn't really play well, and yet he got priced up 200 for the matchup. So way to go, DraftKings algorithm. You guys were on top of it.
Pacers side is still, unfortunately to us, impossible to talk about, really. Tyrese Halliburton, questionable. Benedict Mathurin, questionable. Jalen Smith, questionable. Miles Turner, questionable. No ownership coming in right now. 5% to Miles Turner is the high mark. 6.3% optimal rate is the high mark. But how that shakes out with Q tags will dictate what you're getting to from Indy. We lose 2 or 3 of those dudes, and all of a sudden we're going to have a ton of Pacers. If they're all in, we're probably not. That's really all that we can say right now.
TJ McConnell wasn't even in the rotation yesterday. That had to be like them putting him on ice, right?
I don't think so. Wait.
Think it's going to be
I think he's done when they're at full strength.
Okay, when they're at full strength, just completely.
He hasn't played
done.
for 3 straight games. Now I know he was like hurt or out or illness or whatever it was, but I think he's done when they're at full strength.
Okay, I thought it was something where maybe they just kind of put him on ice for the sake of like, hey, we'll see how Halliburton feels, but at least then we could get him for 24 minutes off the bench or 20 minutes off the bench. His fantasy point per minute rate, 4,800 would still be advantageous if you get Tyrese Halliburton out, even if he doesn't start. And I would assume that he doesn't start because they've gone to Nembhard as kind of the main guy there in that starting unit. Nesmith have been playing really, really well. But this is one of those spots where it is a back-to-back, but like Pascal Siakam could end up being a guy that you just want to get a lot of small forward, power forward, 8,600 if you get Halliburton out. Obviously, lots of Q tags that we're waiting on. Miles Turner, if he ends up out, you could be looking at potential for Jalen Smith. But if he ends up out, then you're looking at Isaiah Jackson being the best value play on the entire slate. So like, there's so many ways that this breaks down. This is obviously a spot you want to keep in mind. So when we talk about potential late swaps, this is like one of the most obvious spots.
Anything else for the Pacers right now? I wish I had more, but I don't.
Aaron Nesmith, this has gone too far, sir. He cooled down in that second half, thank God. Because otherwise I thought I was going to just get steamrolled. He had like 22 fantasy points in the first 6-7 minutes of that game or something. It was just unpalatable. But Aaron Nesmith is not that guy. I would still consider him, obviously, if you got everybody ruled out here. But if you get Benedict Mathurin in, 0.92 fantasy point per minute guy, shooting guard, small forward, that would be extremely appealing without Halliburton or, without Jalen Smith, any of these guys, basically. Just any way to shore him up with minutes. He's already at 25 minutes and somebody who is showing up in lineups for me. So I would assume that he would take the biggest bump, but this is just a TBD situation in general.
Sleeper is the sponsor of this show. They want you to hit the like button. They also want you to sign up using the link in the description or the one that pops up in chat, because you can get a $500 first match deposit bonus. You put in $500, they'll match with 500. And any amount you put in below that, they'll match that amount as well. You can get 100x payouts because they have dynamic payouts. Instead of just having even action on both sides, you might get 2x or 3x on one of the plays that you select, that's going to allow you to really bump up the multiplier. And that's what you should be looking for. There's free squares galore at Sleeper. You should be using those to sort of offset the costs of playing. It's a little bit of rake all the time. And if you use those free squares, they're not going to make you rich because they limit the amount of money that you can put down using a free square, but it is going to help you to bring the cost down because it just makes you more likely to win every time you use one. We've got Odd Shopper out there. If you want to sign up for Odd Shopper and get a bunch more sleeper plays, you should do that. Get yourself into our Discord as well. Maybe you'll get a couple extra plays. Follow my Prize Picks video. These sorts of plays will work across sites if the line is the same. And this week we're 3-1 printing money. We've been profitable since Tuesday. Cannot beat it. Links in the description or in chat for Sleeper. Again, $500 first match deposit bonus.
We got DeAndre Hunter ruled out. I screwed up something here because obviously Okung was just going to be straight up backing up Clint Capella, but at least there's an opportunity for, more minutes for somebody there. I'm just worried that I'm just going to allocate it all to Garrison Matthews and it won't matter.
Wait, what?
DeAndre Hunter got ruled out.
Okay.
Say that again. Yeah.
You were talking about allocating minutes to Garrison Matthews. I couldn't figure out why Garrison Matthews hit my mind.
No, I just was touching on the fact that news dropped while you were doing that. So,
all right. Toronto Raptors, 4.5-point dogs in Houston, 232 total. The highest owned guy for Toronto is 5% to RJ Barrett because they are the Canadian version of the Indiana Pacers today. It's not ideal. We've got a Q tag on RJ Barrett, a Q tag on Jakob Poeltl, a Q tag on Emmanuel Quickley. Those 3 decision points matter, and each one of those guys being out impacts other guys in a different way. Thad Young can go from unplayable to very playable if we get no Jakob Poeltl because we don't have Jonte Porter today. Is there anything we could even do with Toronto right now?
No, other than say that you're either going to play an absolute metric ton of them or you're going to play none of them. There's really no in between.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like if you get one of Barrett or Quickley out, like that's obviously going to change something. If Poeltl plays, you're not going to play Thad Young. If he doesn't play, you're going to play an eternal amount of Thad Young. Scotty Barnes is whatever in any capacity, any way that this shakes out. But if you get Barrett, Quickley, Poeltl all out, Scotty Barnes at 9K, point guard, small forward becomes awesome to be landing on. He's right around a 1.27 fantasy point per minute producer. And then, obviously the Houston matchup isn't ideal. You're talking about a team that's top 10 in adjusted defensive rating, but it is hard not to have interest in the usage, the potential minutes there. Dennis Schroeder, even at 5,900, both Barrett and Quickley get ruled out. You can run him back yet again. This is just such a question mark in general. I guess the one guy, if you get both of them ruled out, you get Bruce Brown back into the starting rotation, 37, 38 minutes both times out. Again, he goes from 25 to like 36 minutes in a projection. It's just drastically different based on what happens with Barrett and Quickley.
The Houston side is a very different team. We've got a lot of ownership coming in here. 29 to Fred VanVleet, around 25 to Alperen Sengun, around 20 to Jalen Green, 15 for Jabari Smith, 5% to Cam Whitmore, 5% to Dylan Brooks. We have a Q tag on Sengun, which is going to be very important. I have an absolute ton of this team. Everybody that I just mentioned, I'm over the field on.
Yep, it's hard not to be. This is one of the better targets that you can run into. I love Jalen Green. I was well overweight the other night. I'll be well overweight again. It's just a different role that he's playing right now. The usage has been through the roof, had 42%, 31%, 25%, 29% usage. This is drastically different how they're utilizing him in this scheme right now, even at 6,800, a guy that I'm landing on. But Fred VanVleet at 6,900. I mean, that's just wild to be looking at. This is still a guy who's over a fantasy point per minute player, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute on the season. And yeah, Sengun, that is a massive Q tag. I would assume because Toronto on the other side, it's going to really depend on how Poeltl, how that status breaks down. Talked about it a little bit last night, but I think Jabari Smith playing the 5 would make some sense. They can always dust off Jeff Green. They've done that many a time this season as well. But God, if Şengün ends up out, this is just a team that you're going to be jamming in a lot of different ways. So Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Fred VanVleet all become extremely interesting. What about some of these ancillary pieces? Because like Cam Whitmore, he is obviously what?
Yep.
Yeah, I have 20% right now at 5%, and I would be like jamming if Şengün is out.
I have 12% right now. I also have 18 of Dylan Brooks, 58 of Fred VanVleet, who I think is one of the top 3 plays on today's slate. I'm over on Şengün. I'm well over on Jabari Smith. I'm just slightly under on Jalen Green, but still getting a bunch of him. But if we lose Şengün here, like everything that I just said and everything we're talking about, it all goes up. Like we create more value in Houston, not less. We start getting some sort of center value. Seems like it's probably going to be the Jeff Green experience at 3,200, probably. And then you start talking about, increasing assist rates and usage rates for all of the other guys that are a part of the lineup. I find Houston to be probably the biggest priority on today's slate.
At the moment, yeah, without a doubt, right now.
It's either them or OKC for me, but that is skewed slightly by having all of the Lou Dort.
Let me take a look. Obviously, I'm playing Kuminga like everybody else because it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's the one Golden State piece. Him and Clay, I'm well overweight too. Just looking by team. OKC, yeah, obviously SGA. I'm not getting to the Dort piece all that much, not as much as what the field is.
I have 94, so
that's different. Let's see. Yeah, I would say this is probably the team that I have the second most ownership next to the Spurs at the moment. I have tons.
This is going to be a wild one if we end up losing Şengün.
Oh, without a doubt. But yeah, Spurs are the team I have the most of. Houston number 2 right now at the moment.
Buckle up, everybody, because if Alperen Şengün gets ruled out, we're about to have the illustrious center matchup of Thad Young versus Jeff Green.
And potential Jock Landale,
by the way.
Oh, God. It's just
2024, disturbing. Not 2016, where these guys would have matched up as like small forwards.
It's an absurd thing. I will say, I think there's a lot of ways that this Houston starting lineup could end up panning out with Alperen Şengün out. It's going to matter about Jakob Poeltl. I think Jeff Green probably starts if Jakob Poeltl starts. If he ends up out, Thad Young starting, you just play Jabari Smith at the 5. Like I could see them just absolutely playing him at the 5 and moving on with their lives.
He will certainly get a look at the 5. I mean, it's Toronto. Like it's not Toronto's playing. If Toronto's playing Thad Young at the 5, they might start Jabari Smith at the 5 if they want to.
No, that's what I just said. Yeah.
This is the same situation as who just did it? Who played OKC and started not a center at the 5? Oh my God. I called it out on this show.
Not Mike Muscala.
Oh, Peyton Watson for Denver.
Peyton Watson, there you go. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, it's the same. It would be the same sort of situation. You don't have to start any center in this situation. You want to go to Jabari Smith? Great. Jeff Green? Great. It doesn't have to be one of the
Toronto doesn't have a center if they don't have Jakob Poeltl. Like they don't have one. So again, I think my inclination, obviously this game starts at 8 p.m. It's the last start time, so you're gonna have maximum swappability to it, but I will have a Jabari Smith plan. I could see them starting Thompson. I could see them starting Whitmore. I could see them starting Holiday. I could see them doing a lot of different things. Jeff Green's the most likely one. I think we both agree on that. In any capacity, they just seem to want to do that. But like, you're going to get to a lot of this basketball team no matter what. And that 5th starter, I'd at least want to like be early to building it out.
All right, let's go to Golden State. 8.5-point favorites in Memphis, 224 total. I'm having a fun time arguing in chat too. Warriors have one big time play here. That is going to be Jonathan Kuminga, 33% owned. Big time leverage here as well. Negative leverage, that is. Then you've got Draymond Green and Klay Thompson right around 15%. I think you mentioned earlier that you've got a bunch of Kuminga, so talk to me about him.
He's my highest owned player on the slate right now, 6,200. The guy is shooting unsustainably well. I will throw that out there right from the get-go, but it almost doesn't matter when you're playing 43, 39 minutes with this current iteration, this current lineup with Draymond Green at the 5. That's not going to change anytime soon here. This is just I mean, I have so much of this team. This line has moved from 5.5 to 8. It was definitely the game I was the most interested in on the board here coming into Friday. And from a DFS perspective, Kuminga at 6,200 is just wrong when he's a fantasy point per minute guy. When he's playing 35 minutes, that's what you're putting in for his baseline. You're going to put him at 35 fantasy points at 6,200, and he's just unavoidably good with small forward, power forward eligibility. So I'm leaning his direction. I know Draymond Green out there, 30% assist rate when he's playing and sharing the floor with Steph Curry this season. Steph down around 23%. He got in crazy foul trouble early in that last game, so don't read too much into just 29 minutes. He's going to play lots of minutes in a competitive spot, which this could obviously not be, but they did go in without Draymond Green and lost to Memphis straight up as 9-point favorites a couple of weeks ago. So circumstantially for me, Jonathan Kuminga won by a lot. Draymond Green have quite a bit. Klay Thompson, I'm almost double the field. And then Steph Curry, somebody that I like sprinkling in here as well.
1 second here. Boom. Got it. All right. Jordan Klein with the member message. He's been a member for 34 months. I assume he's been a member for a lot longer than that. He wants Eric's favorite exotic play.
Santi Aldama, you're the worst.
There we go. There we go.
Kevin Herter, actually, I have more of, so I guess that'd be the right answer.
Conscious with the member message for 26 months. Nuke of the night.
Do you have the animation, Jordan, or can I just say it? Can I just say it? Thank you. Okay. I didn't end up... Oh, are you doing the animation? You're not saying anything. Oh, there it is. There it is. Blow stuff up. Josh is like, this hijinks. I would not stand for this.
I love it.
I was going to say, bits are fun. Bits are fun. Miles Bridges going up against OKC. I mean, this has just been insane what we're seeing from him. 8,500. He is trying to get himself out of Charlotte. He should have been out of the NBA once upon a time, but he's playing pretty good basketball here at the moment. 39, 40 minutes. The usage hasn't even been like outrageous here, but the rebound rate, the opportunity, they are playing completely through him. They're going to develop other pieces here. Mr. Brandon Miller. There are a lot of teams knocking on the door here. Going up against OKC as massive, massive dogs, people are kind of shying away from Charlotte, which I totally understand. I am not shying away from PJ Washington, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges at 4%, your nuke of the night.
You heard it here first, folks. Eric Lindquist, huge fan of all things Miles Bridges.
Probably.
Anything else you want to talk about for the Warriors?
No.
Do you think that Miles Bridges will put you on his visitation list?
Better chance of me than his wife.
Well, you can have that one. I don't know what. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I just assumed he was a good basketball player. Memphis, terrible team. Just absolutely atrocious up and down. And somehow they woke up today and thought, we're going to make this shit worse for everybody. Luke Kennard is questionable. Derrick Rose is questionable. I guess they put the paddles to him somewhere. Tillman is doubtful. At least we got that designation before the game instead of after it. No Zaire Williams, Marcus Smart, Victor Oladipo, Ja Morant, Jake LaRavia, Brandon Clark, or Desmond Bane. And now Steven Adams lives in Houston. We have 20% ownership going to Santi Aldama, 10 to Jaren Jackson. We also don't really know what we're doing here because those Q tags are pretty important. What do you like for Memphis? Because I have a ton of two of these guys, and I think they're two guys that I won't have to change no matter what happens.
Yeah, Santi Aldama I'm playing no matter what happens. I don't find any way around it. The guy, he's a great rebounder, the double-double potential here, everything, the positionality, having power forward center, 5,800. It's just a wrong tang with him in the starting unit playing 36-ish minutes a night in competitive spots. So right from the get-go, Santi Aldama, somebody that I'm going to be playing no matter what. I don't have Jaren Jackson Jr. I know you had talked before the show that was somebody you were getting a lot of. So I'll let you lay that one out here. I get it. He's a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy, 1.3 probably, absent some of these guys that, he's going to have all the opportunity to chuck. But with Draymond and everything else here, I just 8,200 for him as opposed to some other players. I mean, I just talked about Miles Bridges in a comparable spot where it's far more blowout potential. but for whatever reason, just getting to more of him here because Charlotte's still rolling him out when they're down 20 in fourth quarters, which is just wild to watch. But there's a little bit of apprehension I have here for Jaren Jackson on the back-to-back, but I'll let you lay out that case.
I have 40% of Jaren Jackson right now
Wow.
at 8,200. Power forward center, 8,200, as I said. His points prop right now on FanDuel, 26.5. I have him projected for 25.9. So I don't think that I have any sort of like outrageous points projection for him. His rebounding prop for today, 5.5. I have him projected for 6.2, a little bit more, but we're talking about, a half a fantasy point here. Same range as being under for points. His assist prop, 3.5, got a little bit of juice to the under. I got him at 2.7. I don't think that is all that crazy. He is minus 170 for under or over under 1.5 blocks. Pretty similar on the steal side. So I think we're looking in the range of like 2.5 to 3 stocks. I got him at 45.5 fantasy points. So I am 3 fantasy points clear of where we're at. I am a little bit more optimistic for Jackson, but he's really doing everything. 32% usage rate with all these normal dudes off the floor, 17% assist rate. Now, this may look a little bit different if we get all these guys in. If we happen to, like, if Derrick Rose starts, maybe that changes things a little bit. You bring that usage rate down for Jaren Jackson. But I'm already, with that 32% usage rate, that's what's getting me to that same points projection that's out there. So I don't feel too different there. 33 minutes seems fine. The fact that you could put him in at power forward seems fine. I think he's just underrepresented for right now. The fact that this is a home game certainly helps because they would be like 14-point dogs on the road. I love the idea of getting to Jaren Jackson. I also love the idea of getting to your boy, Santi Aldama, who is in 60% of my lineups.
Oh boy. Yeah. See, Santi's the guy that I definitely like a lot more between the two. Don't currently have Jaren Jackson Jr., but obviously that's a really good case you lay out for him. And I feel like that's a case I've laid out for him a lot here of late. Maybe I'm just apprehensive here. I put him at 31 minutes. So I know he's projected for around 32.5 here by us. I'm assuming you have something similar there as well.
I have 33.
Yeah, so I think that might be part of it is that I put him in a little bit lower. Played 34 minutes against Cleveland, but there's no doubt Cleveland, different matchup than what you've got here. You've got a 6'6 Draymond Green, a 6'6 Jonathan Kuminga starting at the 4 and the 5. This should be, for all intents and purposes, a good spot for him to go chuck and go have some success in that department if he's got it going. So he will chuck. He definitely has the usage here for it. Had around a 30% usage as is this season under all circumstances. So I have no problem with it. Just currently not there here at the moment. And obviously the Luke Kennard thing, the Derrick Rose thing, that could open up a little bit of Scottie Pippen Jr. He's been good from a fantasy point per minute rate standpoint. Only played 2 minutes against Cleveland, though, yesterday. Want to have a little bit of a caution for people who end up jamming in that kind of a spot. Luke Kennard they were both out there yesterday as well. But is there anything else to dust off here other than those main two guys? Because I just don't have it.
No, I don't think so. We have to get that status on Kennard and Rose. That will dictate everything. We'll get more. If those two guys end up out, we will get more stuff here for Memphis because they just have to fill the rest of those minutes. But in this spot, I see it as Jackson and Aldama, and I really like Santi Aldama here. Just looking really good.
He's phenomenal.
The Orlando Magic are 6.5-point dogs in Minnesota, 213 total. Highest owned guy is Franz Wagner at 1.9. He's also 5% optimal. I don't have a single share of the Magic in their matchup against the number one defense, Minnesota Timberwolves. Wonder why they're the number one defense. Probably has something to do with Rudy Gobert.
Yep, I took an 18 fantasy score over on Jalen Suggs, but that is about the only thing that I imagine that I will have for Magic exposure whatsoever here. It's a terrible spot. Number one, adjusted defensive rating. Rudy Gobert is questionable, which obviously very much matters to that defensive profile, but at the same time, I just don't see how you land on this game whatsoever. Outside of Rudy Gobert, if he ends up getting ruled out, we'll definitely look at that front court and have some interest in trying to dust off Naz Reid, but as it stands right now, this entire game I have nothing from.
So I do have one guy. It's not the Orlando side. I've got 20% of Anthony Edwards right now. I don't think that you're going to be like, oh no, Anthony Edwards.
What have you done? My favorite player in the NBA on my team? Oh, how dare you?
8,400 point guard, shooting guard.
Makes sense.
I don't hate this spot too much. Like, obviously, it's not great against Orlando. They're fourth in defensive rating, but middle of the pack in pace. So it's not that bad on the Minnesota side, whereas Orlando gets number one defensive rating, number 26th in pace. And I don't have enough that it's like causing me to want to go back to the drawing board. So Edwards seems to be a little bit of a stand for me in this spot. Someone's got to be good between one of these two teams, I think. I'm happy to hope that it's Anthony Edwards. I then agree with you that I have nothing else. But if we do lose Rudy Gobert, that will change the game up a little bit for Minnesota.
Yep, 4,400 Naz Reid would be fun. Karl Anthony Towns rebound rate 8,300 would obviously be there. I'd even have some Jaden McDaniels 4,100, somebody who, obviously doesn't see a ton in terms of fantasy point per minute rate, but anybody rebounding the basketball in any capacity, they would see an improvement there. He's one of the worst rebounders you could run into for a guy who's a wing, a big wing, who's, it's not his job. Like that's what it comes down to. He only averages 2.7 on the season per game, but like, I think there's just opportunity to go around there a little bit just in terms of rebounding the ball and give him a little bit of a bump at 4,100. It's not hard to see him falling into a lineup or two. He's currently the guy that if Rudy Gobert is ruled out would be the highest owned player from this team. But obviously it would turn into Naz Reid if you got Gobert ruled out.
All right, guys, final thing for you guys to do. Simple. We got to talk about the all access package that exists at Stochastic. If you want access to everything we have, all of these Sims products, NBA, NFL, MMA, PGA, and baseball. You get it all. Every single thing that could exist at Stochastic, you get it. It's normally 550 bones. It's a big one. However, you can get $150 off per month as long as you use the Stochastic avatar. I told you to use it earlier. This is the big reason that you should use it. You can get the all access pass for $399.95 as long as you use the avatar. You can't ask for a better deal there. So many different Sims tools, access to so much data. To save that $150 just by using the avatar, to me, an absolute no-brainer. There's no reason not to do it. I can't figure it out, at least. Doesn't make any sense. Sign up for the all access package. If you're looking to have everything we have, this is the way to do it. Link in the description or in chat, by the way. Charlotte Hornets, 2 touchdown underdogs in OKC, 225 total. We have 12% ownership coming into Cody Martin, single digits across the board for everybody else. I do not have much of this Charlotte team in a just absolutely dreadful matchup.
Dreadful matchup, really good defensive team, but obviously the pace. I know they're implied for a 105 team total, but there can't be enough emphasis on like what these minutes look like for some of these dudes right now. I mean, PJ Washington, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges are all just going to be out there forever. And even in a couple of these spots, you go through some of the rotations, looking specifically at where is it? The New York
Miles
Knicks
Turner
game.
out.
Oh boy. Did we get
everybody.
Halliburton news?
We're going to get Jalen Smith out, and we're about to get Isaiah Jackson 75% owned.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. Shit. He probably already is going to be 75% owned. He's the best piece of value on the slate right now.
Return to your breakdown.
Okay, yeah, Cody Martin, I don't understand that one. That's the one that I don't like for the most part. I totally see the Miles Bridges case to be made. Again, 4%. I have nearly 20% of him. Currently 18% of him. So nearly 9 of 50 lineups for me. I just really like getting different with him there. He averages a boatload of minutes. And looking at that Knicks rotation, again, they were down 20. They put Miles Bridges back on the floor and brought it back in there around the 8-minute mark, 9-minute mark. I just think he is. Brandon Miller, too, was the other guy out there. So Miles Bridges and him both end up closing in spots that aren't competitive like this. This game can finish right around that total 15, or sorry, that spread 15. And it can truly still have Miles Bridges play 36, 37 minutes in it. The usage is just out of control with no Ball, no Rozier. It just makes way too much sense to try to get different with something. I know that you talked about Anthony Edwards in a worse game environment. Obviously, a very good defensive side on the other one with OKC, but at least the pace comes along for the ride. It's still an advantageous tag, I think, at 8,500. So Miles Bridges, wild one for the nuke of the night, but here we are.
The nuke of the night.
Yeah, don't
Love it.
There's a hint of sarcasm that I can hear in your tone of voice there. I can hear it.
Oh, no, I mean, I like getting to Miles Bridges, generally speaking. I don't have much of him today, but generally a good play. I mean, he's going to play like 38 minutes.
So it is cellmates, but
All right, time to get to my main play for today. 37% owned Lou Dort, 3,900 small forward. No Jalen Williams. We got 20% ownership coming into Shea, around 10 to Josh Giddey, single digits to a couple other guys. This is the team that I have more exposure to than anybody else because buckle up, everybody. Here we go. If you want to know it, I've got 94% of Lou Dort right now. So if you want to figure out who to fade, here it is.
Dude, I enjoyed when his tag was $4,500 and we still didn't have to think about him. Drops to 4,100, plays 36 minutes against Denver. I don't know how I go above 30 minutes still. They're so diluted. They can go to Cason Wallace, Kenrich Williams, they can go to Misic and Jang. They can go to different guys. It's just so diluted down that I think that the opportunity for him to play 36 minutes is about zero. And obviously there's blowout risk here, but he's 3,900. It's Charlotte. I get it. I'm half the field on him right now. And I'll probably reconsider here based on what other value we get. I mean, thank God, maybe Isaiah Jackson is the guy that I can just jam and not have to think as much about him. But obviously been staring at that ownership all day, been undercutting it. Don't feel great about it. There's definitely a case to be made. And if you can go back to Bubble Dort at some point in time, that would be useful for you. But that would be today based on your lineups. But God, there's some definite uncertainty I have there, considering the 0.7 fantasy point per minute rate, considering, he's just not going to play 32, 34 minutes, I think, all that often going forward.
I'm over the field on Shea now. He was somebody that I was not getting a lot of earlier. I was like sort of redistributing it at the top, but I've got 32% of Shea. I've got 18 of Giddey. I've got 12 of Jalen Williams with a Y at the flat 3K. Now that is going to go away. I assume Isaiah Jackson usurps him. Whether Jalen Smith is in or not, I expect Isaiah Jackson to look a little bit better than Jalen Williams does. I also have 16% of Chet at 5% ownership, which I'm happy with. And I've got 12% of Aaron Wiggins, which is also over the field. Give me OKC here to bludgeon Charlotte.
Yep, that seems like an appropriate thing to do. I just ran some stuff. I have 100%, I have 100% Isaiah Jackson. That shouldn't surprise anybody. Just, again, one preliminary run where I just put him in for 18 minutes and that just happened. So that's cool. SGA going to be something that I think we all have more access to now. So that'll be useful.
Yeah.
21%. I would imagine that's going to come up. So something to pay attention to if this gets to, the 30-ish% type land. There's always a case to be made for undercutting it. But the guy has the highest usage of anybody who has two good knees in the NBA right now. So SGA, there's no doubt that he has a case to get to. I'm also triple the field on Chet Holmgren for what it's worth. 7,600. I don't know why. He was somebody that I was getting to earlier before he had like the $7,600 price tag, but seeing that is a little bit jarring. Josh Giddey. What are we do? Do you have
I assume you're playing him in every Miles Bridges lineup.
Did you say Josh Giddey? I didn't hear you talk about Josh.
I have 18%. 5,900 point guard, shooting guard. We've got him neutral from a leverage perspective, but he is a guy that I'm getting to as well. I just like the spot for all of the Thunder.
Okay, let's go to the last game of the night and get out of here, please.
The New Orleans Pelicans.
Here we go.
I'm not sure they have any criminals on their team that Eric can roster, but we shall see. The night is young. 10% ownership to Zion, to Brandon Ingram, and to CJ McCollum. Single digits after that for everybody else. If you are looking to get to New Orleans, you do want to be aware there's a Q tag on Herb Jones, a Q tag on Larry Nance, and a Q tag on Zion Williamson. Until we rectify those Q tags, it's hard to really dig in. I don't have much of this Pelicans team, but it is a fantastic matchup. I don't begrudge anybody from getting to those three dudes.
overweight on Brandon Ingram, overweight on Zion if he plays, overweight on CJ McCollum, overweight on Jonas Valanciunas, overweight on Trey Murphy, overweight on Herb Jones. I'm overweight on absolutely everybody on this team. They played the entire month of January and had a grand total of 2 games that were decided by single game margins of victory, which is just insane. They're 8-point favorites on the road here in San Antonio. San Antonio brings pace to the program, 5th, 101.9 possessions per 48 minutes. And these salaries are just advantageous because of the blowout nature of all these games that they've played. Nobody's completely taken off here. You could get Zion ruled out. It's going to bring the ownership up dramatically of some of these guys. But I will say, the other night, we had this same type of situation, and Brandon Ingram did not get nearly where I thought he would. CJ McCollum did not get nearly where I thought he would. So it would appear that people are more comfortable jamming not 7K quote-unquote value. So in that event, give me more Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum than I currently have, which is currently double the field.
Did you say you are overweight to Zion, or that Zion is overweight?
See, now we're just like getting really, that's just, you're trying, which I respect it, because I am somebody who is reactive and emotional, if you will, from time to time. But like, I don't want to make fun of. No, Zion is fat. It's fine.
We close it out with the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama with basically the exact opposite body type of Zion Williamson. He's 20% owned. Chetty is 20% owned right now. We've got 20 to Trey Jones. We've got around 15 to Devin Vassell. Are you getting to the Spurs side of this one? Because Chetty's got some pretty negative leverage. Trey Jones has some pretty negative leverage. I'm not going to say anything negative about Wemby.
No, I just imagine Zion Williamson getting pressed together like Play-Doh and having him go straight up. Like that kind of is a good analogy for it. Victor Wembanyama, opposite body type. He's 9,300. He's like a 1.9 fantasy point per minute guy over the last month, which is just absurdness. And he's going to play 32 minutes a game now. Pretty useful going forward. I currently am not getting nearly as much as I had last slate, and I'm still a little bit overweight to him. I just have a lot of this team. This is the team, I brought it up before. I don't understand Devin Vassell, just 6,700, no Keldon Johnson at 13%. Yeah. I have way more. Trey Jones, nice. 5,500. I have way more. Jeremy Sohan at 3%. I have way more. I mean, there's just so many of these guys. Chetty Osman is actually the only guy that I'm undercutting out of anybody that's being projected for any sort of like noticeable 25 plus minutes. So those other 4 guys in Wemby, again, just tiny bit overweight, but Trey Jones and Devin Vassell, I just love on this slate today.
I like the Devin Vassell shout. He's a guy that I get to pretty regularly when it seems like other people aren't. I don't have as much Trey Jones, but with Vassell, I'm with you. I'm realizing Zion turns into Wemby when he stands in front of like one of those funhouse mirrors.
That's a great way to end it, to think about it. Jordan Klein really liked that one. He's like, hell yeah. Yeah.
Hit that like button, everybody. If you want to see NBA Live before lock, it is coming up next. And if you don't hit the thumbs up, you won't see that show. Stay right on this stream. It's coming up. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks to Eric. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Go win some.
Yo, it's that time of week again, and what a week it's been. Maybe a little more than a week for the Stochastic avatars all over the leaderboard. If you're trying to get involved, you want to get a free month Stochastic package, any one of your choice, up to $200 value, and get inducted into the Hall of Fame right here every single week. All you got to do, download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet us your wins with the screenshot, maybe a cool message as well at Stochastic Hall of Fame. As long as it's a field of 5,000 or more and you finish top 3, you are in. Let's get it started for the week. And we kick it off with our boy, Eric Lindquist. I'm not reading all that, brother, but I love you. $30,000 taking down, chopping the fadeaway for 30K. Just an absolutely massive day for Eric, and we're very happy for him. He said a lot of nice things, but we only have so much time in the day. Peter Hanley, he's back, baby. 50K for Peter Hanley, taking down another one, saying, keep it real. Tommy Stoke, how about this one? Our own Tommy, $113,000 on DraftKings. I'm no DFS pro, but using Stochastic Sims made me feel like one last night. Needless to say, chalk up a new high score, move over PokerStars Sunday warm-up. Here's my 113K lineup and how I basically clicked 3 buttons to create. You love to see that. The Sims are working, and they're working well for every sport. Losing to a girl, shout out to the Sims tool. Also, screw you, Jabari Walker. I know this isn't a huge hit. Just want my free month of Sims. And Jorge's back. $60 in the 6,400. It's been a while, but here we are. 6th, an amazing ROI with $60 entry, thanks to the fantastic tools and content by the boys. Alex M, let's go. Another win, $4,000. Second place in the 3-point stance for Alex. Mike coming in hot with a $300 win. Down to his last $20 before he had to deposit again. Said, your tool saved me. I'm a believer. Best in the industry. Gary Wright, less than a week using the lineup generator and found myself in first place. Shout out to Gary. Chris, $1,750. A very simple man with at Stochastic HOF, but interesting screenshot because first place was Gridiron for $7,500, also rocking the Stochastic avatar. And Sean's back every single week, Monster Night on DK. Shout out to the Stochastic crew, best tools and content in the game. What's that? Almost $6,000 between 2 different contests. And CEO of Stochastic, Tom Kennedy, $50,000, just saying decent. And then different sports, same Sims, $12,600. We just released the MMA Sims too, so that looks good. X Night, what an awesome night. Finally managed to get my first Owner's Box Showdown win. NFL Sims Tool's been a game changer for me in my DFS journey. And Tyson with a $450 win in the end one. That's a tough one to win. Not to mention Slim Lancaster with a $2,000 win there. Second place was also another Stochastic avatar. Rob Stay growing the bankroll with a nice $700+ win here. And then you've got Michael Vassell. Thanks for the inflow. Watch your videos regularly to help build my lineups. Was able to get second in the 30K and won. Don't know if I used the right avatar. That's fine. It works. It says Stochastic. To get the free month, but still very thankful. Keep doing what you're doing. Shout out to all you guys. Welcome to the Hall of Fame. If you haven't been here before, if you have, welcome back. Remember, all you got to do to get involved, get a free $200 subscription to your choosing, is use the avatar at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins to us at Stochastic HOF. We'll see you back here next week.
Jordan Klein, do you not know how to count to 5? What is happening here? So the show's started here, by the way, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done it during the deep dive, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Jordan does a countdown from 5 before every show, and he couldn't have been more confusing how he just did it. He's skipping numbers. He's doing certain numbers twice. I've had just, and Lee as well as here, a hell of a time trying to teach people math today. And now Jordan not being able to count to 5, just tilting me even more, Jordan. After, you don't do 2 again after 2. You go to 1 and then you go to 0. Oh my God. We're sponsored by Sleeper here today, guys. The easiest money you can make today is, first, you ignore everything Jordan Klein tells you to do at work, because that'll only confuse you. But what you should do is you sign up at Sleeper using the link we have below. Deposit bonus up to $500. You don't have to put in 500. You can put in 100, they'll match you 100. You can put in 200, they'll match 200. But most importantly, when you sign up with our link, free square tonight, over under 0.5 points for Pascal Siakam, which has to project even better now, Matt, because Miles Turner was just ruled out. Does Miles Turner being out lead you more towards over 0.5 points for Siakam?
No, because he was already going to get there anyways. But yeah, I mean, I like to ultimately answer your question. Yeah, I like Siakam more because of what you said, but 0.5 is just a freebie.
And that's a piece of news where that's where I think we should start here, is by talking about the Indiana Pacers and just the injury news that exists on the slate in general, because we do have Şengün questionable. We've got Zion Williamson questionable. We've got Rudy Gobert questionable. We got RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Jakob Poeltl questionable. Miles Turner's out for the Pacers. Mathurin was ruled in. He was questionable. Jalen Smith is questionable. Tyrese Halliburton is questionable. This Pacers team is going to be such a massive part of the slate that the way I currently have my lineups built, I have left the Clippers Pistons game out of my player pool. I've left the Heat Wizards game out of my player pool. And it's not because players from the Heat don't look good at the moment. It's because I think there's a really good chance that we're going to get some value that goes underrepresented that's going to open up shortly after the slate starts. And all the games are condensed as well, Matt. We've got the entire slate is going to be taking place within, all the games are within an hour of each other. So that's the way I'm playing it. And a lot of it has to do with the Indiana Pacers. But what are you making of all the players that are currently on the injury report?
That's got to be the nuts, though, right? Like, I don't even remember how many games we have, 7 or 8, and they're all condensed within an hour. Couldn't love that anymore. And yeah, I'm with you. Like the first 2 games, not even thinking about personally as someone who makes minimal lineups, like the spend up options for both the Pistons and you can make a case for any of the Heat guys, both in really good matchups. Butler seems like he's over the Heat losing and is really starting to pick up his play. He's too cheap, but ultimately there's just better plays throughout. So I'm not playing anyone from those 2 games. Not that they're the worst plays in the world, but they're already not great to me. And we could just end up getting so much goodness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's all the guys that are on the injury report. That's really what's leading me away from the first couple games on the slate. And there's people who are going to want to play Jimmy Butler, going to want to play Tyler Hero, going to want to play Josh Richardson on DraftKings. And points per dollar, I'm not going to tell you guys those are bad options. It's more so that I'd rather reserve lineup spots for what's going to happen shortly after that. Now, here's where my stance on this could change, Matt. If we get like all of the news that comes out in the next 20 minutes, then I run everything through the contest generator, through our Sims tool, and then I'll just play it kind of straight up as is. But I don't think we're going to get all the news before lock.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's possible. And all of a sudden, if the Indiana news breaks right, like the spend ups look more appealing, but there's still really good spend ups, like not in the first 2 games. So I'm willing to just eat it, presuming we don't get the news. Surely if we get all the news, then like everything changes and maybe you get to some of that game.
Yeah, and we'll start to get some of your guys' questions as well as the super chats. I am having massive pain in the ass of a time opening up the YouTube chat. It keeps telling me the YouTube chat is disabled for some reason when I pop it out of chat. I don't know what the deal is with that, but just going to close my browser and then open it back up here. And then hopefully that will take care of itself. So I'll have YouTube chat up in a second. But first, let's answer a couple of the questions that are in Discord while I try to figure out why my computer is annoying me. Captain Akella has asked us a question. He wants to know, who is one guy that we're playing in a single entry tonight, Matt? Single entry. If you had to isolate one player, who would you give out to Captain Akella here?
I'm going to go with Domantas Sabonis, my favorite spend up option on the slate. There's a ton of value, ton of good plays all over. Give me Sabonis. I love him in this spot. All-star snub, going back to his like ton of narratives involved here, but not even that included. Like he's just in a crush spot, easy to afford. I love Sabonis tonight.
So I do have a bet related to Domantas Sabonis because early in the day when I was placing my bets, the number one projected bet in OddsShopper for FanDuel tonight was Domantas Sabonis over 13.5 rebounds at plus money. So I have a bet on Domantas Sabonis, also somebody who I like, just like you do, Matt. He is currently in north of 20% of my lineups. Here's the guy I'm going to go with for now. I have Jalen Smith in a lot of my lineups. He's currently my most rostered player. He is officially questionable to play, but here's what's going to happen. If Jalen Smith doesn't play, I'm going to be playing a ton of Isaiah Jackson because then we could really count on Isaiah Jackson to be playing a bigger role. We haven't quite seen him with this new look version of the Indiana Pacers, but when you consider that Miles Turner's already been ruled out, and once again, I'm saying that if Jalen Smith gets ruled out in addition to that, then I do think we'd be looking at more of a role for Isaiah Jackson. And that is something that I want to bring Lee in as well, because number one, I want the audience to see the new hairdo that Lee is sporting. But then also, Lee, I want to ask you, what do you think happens to the Indiana Pacers front court if Jalen Smith is ruled out in addition to Miles Turner?
Yeah, so it's pretty spicy. Like Miles Turner being out, like Jalen Smith is already a smash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if Jalen Smith is out, you're talking like 20 as many minutes as Isaiah Jackson can handle without fouling out. So like let's call it 27, 28 or something like that. And it just gets really, really stupid from then on, because it's like you're talking like 100% sort of ownership type guy. Yeah. And then you see Obi Toppin picking up like probably like high 20s. You know, you could put Siakam at the 5 if you had to. Maybe Jarace Walker makes it into a couple minutes. It's like crazy. And then you have to ask yourself, you really have to start asking yourself if Nesmith is a real thing, right? You have to start saying, is this guy for real? Because like now with all these dudes out, you have to ask yourself, like, is this guy going to just drop 50 fantasy points tonight? So.
Yeah. And last, it's kind of funny. I think that people's perception of Nesmith would be different if his first half and second half were reversed last night, because he crushed at the start of the game yesterday. So everybody like in our Discord channel, everybody's going like, oh, it's another Nesmith night. Look, Nesmith, he's doing it again. And then I don't think he really scored almost at all past the first quarter. If I remember correctly, he had 10 real life points at the end. It might have even been 12 real life points at the end of the first quarter. Almost all of his fantasy points were scored at the top of the game and not as much in the later stages. So Nesmith is somebody I wouldn't like to play. But with that said, if all these guys get ruled out for the Pacers, we still have Halliburton, who's officially questionable, unless he's been ruled out over the time that I've been talking here, which he is not. So we still have Halliburton and Jalen Smith officially questionable for the Pacers, in addition to Turner being out here. But yeah, I see it the same way as Lee. If we do get Jalen Smith out, Isaiah Jackson is going to be at a minimum in 90% of my lineups and likely in 100% of them. Matt, anything else you want to add about the Pacers situation here?
I like Isaiah Jackson no matter what. Like, he's going to see the court tonight, and that's all you need from him. Like, he's a points per minute guy. Jalen Smith is fragile, so like he's a smash on paper, but I can see him getting into bad foul trouble. He's left multiple games injured this year. So obviously I'd like it better if he's just out and I can play all the Jackson. And then also Jarace Walker. Lee mentioned him briefly. Like, his game was built for DFS. He's raw. He's a rookie. He came out after his freshman year from Houston, but he was like the number 5th overall pick in the draft. Just not getting run right now. But you've seen, like, before they got Siakam and they were shorthanded, he got a little run and was producing really well. So I think he's worth a GPP call out if Smith is out.
I could understand that as well. He's somebody who's currently in 11% of my lineups. And that is currently with Smith projected and Smith currently being my most rostered player.
I feel like that's way over the field right now with Smith in, and I love it.
And some super chats, going to start getting to them, but there's something very important here. I know this was a super chat from last show, but producer extraordinaire Jordan Klein left us a super chat. He wants to know who Eric's favorite exotic play of the night is. I have a request for our audience and the people in Discord. The exotic play of the night has gone by the wayside. Eric is very happy about that. I am not. So the next time that I'm doing shows again with Eric next week, please flood our Discord with questions about the exotic play of the night. And we're going to pretend I didn't ask you guys to do this, but I would really like to tilt Eric to open up next week. So let's keep that in mind for next week, fellas. Exotic play of the night. It's making a comeback. I see Jordan's grinning ear to ear. He's excited about this as well. Let's see what else we have as far as super chats here. We've got Ace of Spade. He wants to know the best options for DK tiers. So for me, in tier 1, that is going to be Domantas Sabonis. And I want to ask you, Matt, because you had also said that Sabonis is your favorite single entry play. Is he overall your favorite pay up option on the slate? If you could just roster anybody, it would be Sabonis on the high end?
Yep. You can make cases for obviously Shea. I also like Wemby a lot, but I had to choose one. It's Sabonis.
And Wemby, for me, is my tier 2 favorite choice. Wemby, he's got to start becoming a tier 1 player. He's too good to be in like these tier 2s and tier 3s for tiers contests. Tier 2, it is easily Wemby for me. Tier 3, this is where stuff gets a little bit tricky because Şengün is projected the best here by a very wide margin. But also, we know Şengün is questionable to play today. So let's see. His start time is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So if Şengün is ruled out. Kawhi and Harden will have already locked. De'Aaron Fox will have already locked. Pascal Siakam will have already locked. So this is one, how aggressive are you guys looking to roll the dice? Because the answer as of right now for me is Şengün. We just don't know if he's going to be in or out. So I'm going to say Şengün. If you don't want to take the chance on Şengün, Kawhi is your next best option for tier.
Şengün is in.
Oh, he's in? I must have missed that come through. My bad.
Just came in probably.
Oh, let me see. Şengün. Oh, there we go. Yeah, literally. I was gonna say, how did I miss that Şengün is in? Then I go look at my my Twitter notifications and see as I'm talking, he got rolled in. So no need to worry about that. Şengün is going to be in today. He is my option for tier 3. So Şengün in tier 3. I'm gonna read the rest of these a little bit quicker because apparently the longer I take, I'm gonna look like an idiot because players are gonna get ruled in as I say that they're questionable. So tier 4 for me, that is going to be Bam Adebayo in tiers. Tier 5, that is already Brandon Ingram, and we do have Zion Williamson listed as questionable at the time that I'm starting this sentence. So Zion Williamson, if he's ruled out, that would benefit Brandon Ingram even more, and as of now, I already think he's the guy to go to in the tier. And then tier 6 for me, that is going to be Fred VanVleet, but if Zion is ruled out, then I like CJ McCollum more than Fred VanVleet in tier 6. So Ace of Spade, thank you very much for the super chat. We've got one in here from Dr. Spoony Badass. Dr. Spoony Badass. Let's see if there's a question because he didn't have one in here, but maybe it's in. I don't see anything in chat. So Dr. Spoony Badass. If you have a question for us, throw it into the YouTube chat because it's a super chat, but no question. But if you just wanted to leave us the super chat to show some appreciation, we appreciate you as well. And then Malukar saying, can we get a good core for a FanDuel single entry? Yes, sir. Of course we can. So for FanDuel single entry, here are the players that I overall have the most exposure to on FanDuel as of now. Lou Dort, Santi Aldama, Kevin Huerter showing up in a bunch of FanDuel lineups. Jalen Smith is as well. So we need that update on the Indiana Pacers. But those are the guys that I would call the core options for FanDuel. There's a number of good plays. Those are the ones I'm getting the most. And I'll throw Brandon Ingram in there as well, because he's already somebody who shows up in a good amount of FanDuel lines for me and has the potential to look even better if Zion is ruled out. So Malukar, that's the way to go there with a core group of guys. And here we go. Dr. Spoony Badass left us a follow-up. He said, how do I upload exposure favorites into, okay. So we have a video on how to upload lineups to your CSV. It's going to be a little bit hard for me to walk you through this while doing the show. Let me pull up the video, or if you could, Jordan, like about 2 weeks ago, Josh Engleman put a video up on our YouTube channel for how to upload lineups and how to override your CSV. So I'm going to have Jordan right now throw that into YouTube chat for you, Dr. Spoony Badass. Watch that video, and then you'll be able to figure out. It's very simple. It'll only take you a couple of minutes, but watch that video. It'll be much better than me trying to walk you through it verbally. I think that could be a little bit confusing, or at least that's how I learn stuff. It's hard for me to understand stuff just with somebody saying it out loud. But check out Josh's video that Jordan just threw into the YouTube chat, and I promise that'll help you. And then if you have any other further questions after that, after the show, if you need help, DM me on Twitter if you're on Twitter, and then I could walk you through anything and give you all the attention you need. But check out that video that Josh did. I think that'll do the trick for you. Next question here is coming to us from Miami High Life. He says, I want to make sure I don't get anyone from the 7 p.m. games. How do I leave players out of the player pool using the Sims tool? Is that possible? Yes. So here's what I did for tonight. I went into the contest generator and I took everybody out from the first 2 games. So that is the Clippers, the Pistons, the Heat, the Wizards. I just took them out of the contest generator and built a pool of lineups without those guys. And then I simulated the slate. So that's the way that I chose to do it. You could also build lineups with the current projected ownership in the contest generator. And then you could do negative ROI boosts to every individual player from the first couple of games. What I like to do, though, is I just take players out in the contest generator, which actually, would you mind, Jordan, putting that up on screen? We could show people how to do it. Put the Sims tool up on screen. If you guys want to sign up for any of the packages that we have at Stochastic.com, links for those below. Whether you want to sign up for the Sims package or you want to sign up for the lineup generator package, which is less than $15, it also gets you access to our Discord channel. So, all right, cool, Jordan. We got the screen share going here. pull up the Sims tool and go to the contest generator. Yeah, here we go. So just click generate lineups. And this will take like 30, 45 seconds to build out the lineups. And then I'll show you guys how you could remove all the players. There's a really easy way to do it that takes like 15, 20 seconds. So while that is also simulating here, we've got another super chat here that I'll read off. This is Rick V. He says, new segment. Lately, one popular play in the projections completely shits the bed. So give me your shit the bed, no play of the night. So this is kind of what the velvet rope play of the night is that Matt does as well. But Matt, who is the highest owned player that you think is most likely to shit the bed on tonight's slate?
I was so off yesterday. Almost afraid to go back here after Sean B was killing me in the chat. So I have to do it though. All the guys getting ownership are guys in good spots, but give me Jalen Smith. Highest owned player on the slate, most negatively leveraged player. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be awful. I just like other guys more. So he's the velvet rope play of the night. Kick him out the club.
All right, let's see. Well, most recent updated ownership projections. And let's see what we have for the highest owned players. Actually, my answer is going to be who's the highest owned player from the first couple games of the night. That's what my answer is going to be.
I like that.
Derrick Rose is probable. Just letting you know, he's going to be playable. I'm going to put him at like 23 minutes, and he's going to be playable. Just FYI.
All right. If you guys just heard from me there, we got Derrick Rose expected to play tonight, and is going to be in play. He's going to have a projection that's going to make him at least a viable option for today. Other news that we've gotten that's come in as well is that we've got Luke Kennard is expected to play, Derrick Rose expected to play, Rudy Gobert still questionable. So that's the most recent updated news that we have. Yeah. So for me, I'm going to answer Josh Richardson, and it's if you were just building lineups out now and you got the Josh Richardson and nothing else changed, that would be fine. But I really strongly feel that much better value options are going to open up than Josh Richardson as the night rolls around. Another thing too about Josh Richardson is as Terry Rozier starts to play more minutes for the Heat, I think that's going to come at the expense of Josh Richardson. And it's also going to come at the expense, at least as far as usage is concerned, some of the other starters for the Heat. So Josh Richardson, that's a guy who is picking up ownership that I do not want to get to just because I think better options are going to open up later. Now let's go back to the Sims tool here. Got the contest generator on screen. Click on the filters there, Jordan. And go to team on the left. And then just type in WAS for Washington. Okay. Now here's what you guys could do. On the left, you could remove all these players. Next to the player's name, Jordan. See that? Yeah. You just take them out. You just go down the line and you do that for all of the players in the first couple of games and then regenerate lineups, and it'll build you a pool of lineups that don't include the first couple of games on the slate. That was how I started my prep for this slate. It took me like 20, 30 seconds to remove all the players from the first couple of games. That is the best way to go ahead and do that. That was from the question that we got from Miami High Life in Discord. So Miami High Life, that's what I recommend doing. If you have any other questions about it, at me, and I will walk you through that after the show. But I think it's pretty straightforward. That's the way to approach it. Anthony Maselli has left us a super chat. He says, favorite per position for a DK one. Okay, so he's playing single entry, wants to know who our favorite guys are at each position for single entry. So let's see. If I go each position here, single entry on DK. Starting at point guard for me, that is going to be Fred VanVleet. How about yourself at point guard, Matt?
At point guard, it is Trae Young.
Shooting guard for me, that is currently Kevin Huerter. I do expect that to change late. Actually, for single entry, I'm going to say Brandon Ingram. Kevin Huerter is the one I have the most exposure to at shooting guard right now, but Ingram is the second most. And also with Zion being questionable, I think it makes sense to put him into a single entry line. So I'll go with Brandon Ingram at shooting guard. How about yourself?
I will go with Huerter. He's one of the best dollar for dollar plays on the slate. And I'm more confident in Zion playing with him going to shoot around. We'll see, though.
Small forward for me, that is currently Lou Dort.
Yeah, Dort for me, too.
Power forward, that is Jalen Smith at the moment.
Power forward for me is Wemby.
And Wemby is for me at center. What are you doing at center to round it up here?
I'm going to go Sabonis / Isaiah Jackson. One expensive guy, one cheap guy.
And then also, because we got this question in the chat here, Desmond is asking us a question about the Sims tool. He wanted to know what percentage to first he should use in the simulation tool. So it's whatever the percentage to first payout is for the contest you're in. And so how you figure this out is if it's a $400,000 prize pool and it's 100,000 to first place, you take the 100,000 and you divide it by the 400,000, you find out 25%. Right. And then if it was something like, let's say it's a $2 contest, just to make this really simple, and it's $1 to first place, that would be 50% to first. So whatever contest you're in, you set the first to whatever the payout to first is, and that will take care of that, Desmond. Let's see what else we have as far as super chats are concerned. And it looks like we're caught up on those. So we'll go back into Discord and make sure that we have these questions answered. Yeah. So back into Discord now. Mr. Coolcam wants to know favorite player at each position for FanDuel. Do you have a FanDuel lineup built out, Matt, or just DraftKings?
Just DraftKings.
Okay. So for me on FanDuel here, at point guard, it is at the moment Cody Martin. At shooting guard, Lou Dort. Small forward, Brandon Ingram. Power forward, Santi Aldama. And center for me, that is now Jalen Smith. So still waiting on that updated injury report for the Pacers. Going to end up changing a good amount. Oh, well, we're getting news from the Raptors right now. Raptors, we have Jakob Poeltl, probable. He was questionable. Emmanuel Quickley, probable. He was questionable.
Good.
And RJ Barrett is out. He was listed as questionable. So 3 players were on the injury report, 3 important players, 3 starters for the Toronto Raptors. Of those 3 that were questionable, 2 are in. 1 are out. Something else to note here is that Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel Quickley have both missed some time. So I'm curious to see if this is going to potentially mean that they have any sort of minutes restriction. So Lee is updating projections right now. We're going to bring Lee in after he gets that looked at a little bit more here. But first, Matt, now that we have news that Quickley is likely to play, Poeltl is likely to play, but RJ Barrett is out, what does that make you like from the Raptors, if anything?
Nothing. I mean, these guys have missed some time now, so the other Raptors are priced accordingly. They're getting 2 guys back. Barrett is still out, so all of them look a little bit better than they would if Barrett were in. I'm not playing enough lineups to get to any Toronto here, especially now that Poeltl and Quickley are presumably in.
Yeah, let's see. What are the price points here? So we've got Emmanuel Quickley is 7,200. We have Jakob Poeltl is priced at 6,300 on DraftKings. The last time these guys played, Poeltl hasn't played since January 7th, so about a missed month for him. Considering it was an ankle injury, I'm going to assume that there's a light minutes restriction for Jakob Poeltl. I don't think he plays 20 minutes or anything like that, but I would be very surprised if he plays, a full allotment of minutes, considering it's been a month that he was out and it's a lower body injury. Emmanuel Quickley's last game played was January 22nd. And he was dealing with a quad injury. So we're talking a soft tissue leg injury. And he hasn't played since January 22nd. So that's about 2 months here since he's last been out there. So Quickley, I think we could see his minutes monitored. It is probably the phrasing we'll see, one of the worst coach speak terms that we see out there. But considering their price points, I don't think either of them are going to be priorities for me here. But let's bring Lee in. Maybe he feels differently. Lee, first off, what are you expecting for minutes from Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel Quickley, considering for Poeltl, it's been a month off and a couple weeks off here for Quickley?
Yeah, I'm going 32 here for Quickley and 28 for Poeltl. I don't think it's too crazy. I'm going to divvy up the minutes for McDaniels, Boucher, and Young to basically make them all unplayable because it's anybody's guess what the I don't want to take a stand there anywhere just because it's going to be miserable no matter what happens. Grady Dick enters the rotation again. I'm actually having him at close to 20 minutes, but he's not really playable. At 20 minutes, Gary Trent up a little bit north of 30, and then Bruce Brown north of 30 now again too. So
Yeah.
I might actually reshuffle here just a little bit and actually give Noah some minutes, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm still haven't quite finished yet.
There's nothing here that I really feel needs to be in any DFS lineups. I know a lot of our audience, you guys watching, are playing 1, 2, 3 lineups. I wouldn't play anybody from Toronto in there. If you're playing 150 and you get maybe like a couple lineups with Scotty Barnes, okay. But same time too, Scotty Barnes has been priced up since before these players were injured. And now he's going to be losing some usage out to Emmanuel quickly. So even with RJ Barrett out, Scotty Barnes is more of a last man in if you need him sort of situation. No priorities for me from the Toronto Raptors with this latest news breaking. We've got Malcolm Revamp says, Matt and Greg, which money line to bet on all games? All right, let's go through every single game's money line, Matt. And we're going to give Malcolm Revamp some answers here. Okay, let me pull up all the money lines first. All right, so first game on the slate, Matt. Heat minus 295, Wizards plus 230. Which side of the money line are you taking? Heat or Wizards for Malcolm Revamp Super Chat?
Heat, but I would never bet it because road favorites, no thanks. But I'm not betting, never betting the Wizards. So Heat.
At these, and we're getting more injury news that's coming in. So we'll touch on that in a second here after we finish up this Super Chat. If I had to take a side, I would go with the Washington Wizards just being big home underdogs. But once again, not something that I'm actively betting here. Clippers, Pistons, just no chance you're getting me to take a Pistons money line, but I'm also not laying a minus 700 money line. I assume he's asking us for some sort of parlay here, but if I had to take a side, give me the Clippers, but I also don't want to bet a minus 700 NBA money line on the road.
Right with you.
Phoenix Suns against the Atlanta Hawks. We've got the Suns minus 156, Hawks plus 132. I'll take the plus money on the Hawks at home. How about yourself?
100% same.
Pacers plus 138, Kings minus 164. Can just pass on this till we get more information. I mean, Halliburton's questionable. So if Halliburton is out, I mean, then the Kings will look pretty good to me at minus 164, but no real strong lean until we get more injury info.
Agreed, but I like the Kings probably no matter what.
And the Toronto Raptors plus 154 on the road against the Houston Rockets minus 186. Give me Houston minus 186 at home.
Same. They're a lot better at home.
Next one, the Orlando Magic against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Timberwolves minus 245 home favorites. Magic not getting much respect from the sports books tonight, but I do like the Timberwolves to win the game, and I'll take the minus 245 for this.
Give me the Magic, especially with Rudy Gobert questionable.
OKC at home against the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, even if you're parlaying, how much could a minus 1350 favorite add to your parlay? It's got to be the Hornets. I mean, it's got to be the Thunder because I'm not picking the Hornets to beat the Thunder on the road in OKC. But I mean, you can't play a minus 1350.
Yeah, I'm with you all around.
Spurs plus 260 at home against the Pelicans minus 320. I will take the Pelicans minus 320.
I'll take the Pels because I assume Zion plays.
And then final game on the night, it is the Denver Nuggets at home against the Portland Trailblazers. Another one where, I mean, Jokic is questionable. It's hard for me to go tell you to lay minus 820 on the Denver Nuggets if Jokic is potentially going to be out. So another one, just not enough information at the moment.
Same.
So there we go, Malcolm Revamp. We ran through all those for you. Thank you very much. Hopefully that was what it is that you were looking for as far as an answer there. Andrew Williams wants to know, is Scottie Pippen Jr. still in play on DraftKings? So Pippen played quite well last night, started at point guard. Here's the issue he's going to run into. Derrick Rose is expected to play today. That's going to really, really cut into Scottie Pippen's upside. In addition to that, Scottie Pippen's been priced up a little bit. So if he starts, I'm going to tell you that he's playable. But even then, he's not nearly as good of an option as he was in some previous slates. Derrick Rose has to take playing time away from Scottie Pippen.
I agree. Here's my question to you. We've talked a lot about the 7 o'clock games and impacted. We don't want to play them because of the news coming out. There's quite a bit of news in the 8 o'clock games too, especially Gobert. Does that make you like, what does that do for you for the 7:30 games, knowing that we're not really playing much of the 7 o'clock games?
Yeah, nothing. So I can't take players out of my player pool from the 7:30 games. There's too many guys I like from the Kings. The Pacers value is massive right now with Miles Turner out. So especially if you get like Halliburton added to the mix as well. And then also maybe if Jalen Smith sits and then Isaiah Jackson ends up being in. The difference with the Pacers situation compared to the Heat or the Wizards or any of those, there are fringe options from the Heat for tonight. Like I mentioned before, Tyler Hero, Josh Richardson, there's nothing inherently wrong with them, but they're not must-play type guys. Whereas I'm looking at the value on the Pacers and saying, like, I can't go without that on the slate today. So if we get to the 7:30 games and players from the 8 p.m. games are still questionable, it's not going to impact my decisions. I'm just going to ride with everything as is that I'm getting to.
That's totally fair. I mean, I'm with you. No matter what happens, we might not / probably won't get better value than Indiana. It will be lower owned, though. Like guys like Kyle Anderson. You'll still have OKC to swap off. So, like, people will get there. It's just a little intriguing, not for, like, taking the whole 7:30 games out of your pool. That would be astronomical. But, like, lineup decisions here and there. Like we might get some breaking news like Gobert being out, which would really change the slate.
And we just got some news that came in here that I was alluding to before. We got Herb Jones is out, Larry Nance is out, Zion Williamson is questionable. Here's where this is really important. If Zion is out, in addition to Larry Nance, we're looking at more secure minutes for Jonas Valanciunas as well as big usage if Zion doesn't play. So Valanciunas just became a much more appealing looking center option with Larry Nance out, and then also still looming over our heads, the Zion Williamson being questionable here. So still going to need more news here on the Pelicans with Zion questionable to play. If Zion's out, though, I mean, Valanciunas, give me him. Give me CJ McCollum. Give me Brandon Ingram. There's going to be a lot to like from the New Orleans Pelicans tonight. So we'll see. We're going to need that update on Zion. Let's see what we have next as far as super chats go. Diego Alvarez is asking us thoughts on KD forwards smash versus Atlanta. It is really hard for me to get any meaningful amount of the studs from the Suns, considering that, and by the way, I'm considering the studs to be Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. At Bradley Beal's price point, I do like getting to Bradley Beal tonight. But Kevin Durant's currently in 9% of my lineups. It's fairly comparable to the field. So he's in my player pool, but I can't prioritize him and get to like 20 or 30% of Kevin Durant just because there's so much usage to go around on this team. There's only one ball between Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic, Devin Booker, Grayson Allen back in the mix tonight. Durant is somebody he's like a 10% guy for me today. He's in the mix. He's somebody I'm going to get to. He's not somebody I would play in single entry, though. Do you feel differently about Kevin Durant, Matt?
No, not even a little bit. I mean, Phoenix guys, they're so good on any given slate. One of them can always get there, specifically Booker and Durant. But they're really hard to prioritize on any given night, especially slates like this where there's just better options at each of those guys' positions that are cheaper. So, no, I'm not playing. And they're kind of far down in our boom bust tool too, which says all you need to know.
Next question here is from Braden Baum. He wants to know, is Gafford a good play with Bagley out? I understand where your head is at, but too much opportunity cost today. Lots of good players to look at in the front court. And then in addition to that, you're losing out on some flexibility by locking in a player from one of those 7 p.m. games. So Gafford, not for me tonight. Do you feel differently, Matt?
Nope.
Shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted out 10 YouTube memberships. Chris, as always, appreciate the support. And then also, Chris, I've already got lineups built out for you for this. So I'm going to tell you the top plays for Showdown tonight. Captain exposures for me. Guy got to the most was Nikola Jokic by a mile. I know that you didn't leave the super chat, Chris, but it's probably going to be the next thing you leave there. So I'm just going to give you it now. You already gifted out the YouTube memberships. I'm going to answer the question that's on your mind. Nikola Jokic, keep in mind he is officially questionable to play today, but assuming he's in, he's clearly the guy to get to in the captain spot for Showdown tonight. So I have him in the most of my lineups at captain, followed by Jamal Murray and then Michael Porter Jr. DeAndre Ayton was my most rostered Blazers player there in the captain spot. If Jokic is out, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., they would really, really start to project much better. They already look good. They would look even better for Showdown. Players I'm getting to in the flex spot the most, DeAndre Ayton, Aaron Gordon, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Christian Brown, and Anthony Simon. So once again, Chris, thank you very much for the support and gifting us out those YouTube memberships. Let's go into Discord and see some of the questions we're getting in there. And don't forget, guys, that after the show ends, I'm still going to be hanging out in Discord for, well, not as late tonight because the game, it's a more condensed slate. So it's not like we have to wait until 10 p.m. waiting for Tyrese Maxey news or anything tonight. But myself, Lee, we're going to be in Discord after the show ends, answering any questions you guys have as more news comes out. And by the way, we did just get the official word. Emmanuel Quickly, Jakob Poeltl will have a minutes limit Friday, which is what we were suspecting was going to be the case. Let's see what we have in here next. It is Marquee Sports asking us, do we prefer Bruce Brown or Clay? I said Clay Thomas. I assume you mean Clay Thompson. So between Clay and Bruce Brown, I'm going to say Bruce Brown, especially considering that we've got the players on the injury report for the Pacers and more of them can be ruled out. Clay or Bruce Brown, Matt?
Clay, but I don't really have much interest in either of them, to be honest.
What if Halliburton's ruled out?
Well, Bruce Brown's on Toronto now.
Oh, that's right. Totally slipped my mind there.
Yeah.
Totally slipped my mind. Let me see. Ultimately, the answer is going to be no interest in either of them. Yeah, I just made myself sound like an idiot there.
You're fine.
So then the inverse, too, we've got players coming back from Toronto. I don't know what Bruce Brown's role is going to be moving forward when this entire team is healthy either. Clay's also played extremely poorly this year. I'll say Clay just because he gives you more flexibility because he's in a later start time. Neither of them, though, is ultimately what I think the answer should be. Mass Media Captain said, can we get a rundown of all the injuries up until now? Yeah, so here's what we're looking for. All right, here are the players who are still questionable. So for the slate, Jokic is questionable. Don't have to worry about that because he's not on the main slate, but it is notable for people who are playing Showdown tonight. Zion Williamson is still questionable. Rudy Gobert is questionable. Tyrese Halliburton is questionable. Jalen Smith is questionable. So those are the most important players who are currently questionable on the injury report. And then in terms of players who have been ruled out over the course of the show, Herb Jones was ruled out during the show. Larry Nance was ruled out during the show. LaMelo Ball was officially ruled out during the show. And Miles Turner as well was ruled out. So those are all the ones that have happened around the time of the start of the show. Let's see what we have next. It is the Black Mamba 8724. Thoughts on Josh Richardson at $3,500? Yeah, the problem I have with Josh Richardson is that he looks okay now, and I do suspect better value is going to open up later. I wouldn't burn a roster spot on him. Now that we have more news, Matt, have you changed any of your opinions on Josh Richardson? Is he somebody that you'd be wanting to get to?
No, I mean, I like him probably the same as Chetty. Maybe Chetty a little bit more, and Chetty gives you the later start time. So Richardson's a no for me.
And a super chat here from James Magruder. He wants to know, are Aldama, Giddey, I assume there's only one. Yeah, he said that Jay Green. I assume he means Jalen Green and not Jeff Green. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt there, James Magruder, and assume he means Jalen Green and not Jeff Green. So he wants to know, Aldama, Giddey, Jalen Green, and Kuminga, are they all good for single entry? Let's see. I know I like Aldama tonight. I don't love Josh Giddey. I wouldn't play Josh Giddey in a single entry. Kuminga going to be super popular. Fine for single entry, though. Jalen Green also going to be pretty popular. Fine for single entry. The only one of those guys I don't really love for single entry is Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey's more of a large field tournament play. I don't think he's somebody you need to take a chance on in single entry. Large field tournament, I have a little bit of exposure to Giddey. Wouldn't use him in a single entry lineup there, though, James. Next question is from M. Grizzly. He wants to know, is there anybody that I'm boosting today? Also, who am I the most overweight and underweight to? So as far as boosts, the one thing I did do, which we walked through before, was in the contest generator, I took the first couple of games out of the player pool, but there aren't any specific players that went ahead and boosted after that. And keep in mind also, we talk about this, how I use the Sims and the contest generator. Everything that I'm doing and the way I'm setting my exposures generally to try to situate my lineups to best be able to take advantage for any late breaking news. The way I did that today, I didn't have to boost people. I just took the first couple of games out of the slate. So that's the way I recommend you do that tonight, M. Grizzly. And then player to be overweight and a player to be underweight too, Matt. Let's do one for each. First, underweight. Who are you going with? Has anything changed from earlier? I believe you went with Jalen Smith before.
I did. Yeah, he's the guy I'm going to be underweight on. So
I'm going to go
I'll
Josh.
stick with it.
I'm going to go Josh Richardson. Player to be overweight to. What's your answer for that side of it?
Player to be overweight to. I'm going to go a guy that we've barely talked about. Give me J-Val now that we have Nance out. Even if Zion's in, really like J-Val here. My worry here is Wembanyama, but like Wemby doesn't play a ton of minutes anyways. I also like Wemby on the other side, but J-Val seems like someone who has big upside now.
Especially if you get the situation where Zion does sit.
Does anyone else become like look decent to you if that's the case?
If
Zion sits, I'm going to slam Najee.
Okay.
Just because any chance Lee gets to bring up Najee Marshall. I know Lee was very tilted that he didn't play in it because Najee Marshall is Lee's guy. So Lee was a little tilted the other day when he wasn't able to get to as much of Najee as he potentially could have in a game where Najee went off. There's a lot of guys from the Pelicans I like if Zion doesn't play. On the low end, Najee Marshall. On the high end, I'm going to be getting to Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, and Valanciunas I'm getting to anyway, but I would be getting to Ingram and CJ McCollum a good amount as well if Zion is ruled out. For me, player to be overweight too. I feel like I've given this answer just about every single time we get this question over the last couple of weeks, but Wemby. Wemby is never appropriately owned to me. He has massive upside. And even in some of these slates where he's been popular, he's been like 20, 25% owned. I've pretty regularly been at like 30 to 40% Wembanyama, and it has continued to pay dividends. So give me Wemby. The sky's the limit for him. He's going to keep improving. Wemby's got to be overweight too. Einstein wants to know, are we getting to PJ Washington tonight? Yes, I do like PJ Washington. PJ Washington is one of my most rostered players in the front court as of right now. So PJ Washington, for sure, somebody to get to. And also, as far as Washington is concerned, in games where he doesn't get into foul trouble, even if he comes off the bench, he's playing pretty big minutes. If you look at the last 3 games, 36 minutes off the bench, 35 minutes in a start, 36 minutes off the bench. Even if you see him not starting, don't let that deter you. The minutes are going to be there for PJ Washington. I do think he's somebody to have in your player pool. Shady Great. He wants to change the over-owned player to the puke of the night. I think that's what he's referring to. I don't mind that. That's something we could pick up in the future. Gross Point Zach says top play and favorite value piece in the Phoenix. Oh, this is very specific. Top play and favorite value piece on FanDuel for the Atlanta Phoenix game. Are you going to that game? Is that why you're asking? It's very specific. Okay, so my FanDuel lineups. The play that I get the most of overall on FanDuel is Bradley Beal. If we're just talking about which player I expect to score the most fantasy points, I'm going to say Devin Booker. But price point being considered and all that, Bradley Beal is the guy I like the most on FanDuel from that game. Father of 3 wants to know, what is my exposure for the 150 max 3? Okay, so he wants to know all of my exposures for the $15 contest. I don't know exactly because I'm not playing the first game on the slate and I'm still waiting for more injury news. So if I just told you number one, it'd be hard for me to go through. There's not enough time left in the show, only 8 minutes for me to go through every single player, my exposures to all of them. But I can tell you the players I have the most of at each position: Fred VanVleet, Kevin Huerter, Brandon Ingram, Lou Dort, Jalen Smith, Wemby. Those are players I have the most of overall. And I have taken the first couple games out of my player pool for the next part of your question. Took them out of the contest generator, not playing the first couple of games. Hef Love wants to know, are we getting to any of Gallinari tonight? No, same deal. He's in the first game of the slate. There's a lot of opportunity cost there. Gallinari. Yeah, Gallinari. Don't play Danilo Gallinari tonight. Don't play Gallo. Matt, anything to add about Gallinari? And I know he's had some good games as of late. The Pistons are a total train wreck. They're a disaster. Who knows what the hell their minutes are going to look. None of the rotations make sense. I don't know if they know where they are in the standings. There are days where they're not willing to play their young guys. There's going to be a lot of value that opens up later. I'm going to say no, but it looks like Lee might want to. Did you have something to add, Lee, because you unmuted yourself?
Oh, yeah. I would just say that Gallinari is like, he happened to play some backup center minutes. But if Wiseman sneaks in and even steals 5 minutes or something like that, Gallinari is actually dead. So like it's too thin of a play today. And the other thing I'll say is that the industry right now isn't playing Derrick Rose, even though he's probable. But I think that he is the starter. If they wouldn't list him as like playable unless he was actually going to go out and start. So I have him starting. So watch out for that starting lineup. It's going to matter 100%. If he's starting, he's an absolute smash at like 23 minutes or something like that. So
I could dig that for sure, especially if he's starting. He is $4,100 on DraftKings. We've got Derrick Rose is at $4,400 on FanDuel. He's still, I know that Derrick Rose clearly way past his prime, but he's still a decent enough fantasy producer. And certainly if he starts at this kind of price point, somebody worth getting to, especially at the low ownership that we have there. So yeah, if you're looking for a cheap guy, I would definitely go Derrick Rose over somebody like Gallinari. Clyde is asking us, oh, this is a tricky one. Man, I feel like we don't have enough information to answer Clyde's question because he's asking us Najee Marshall, Jalen Smith, or Isaiah. I assume he means Isaiah Jackson when he says Isaiah. There's different tiers to this. As of right now, it is Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson, and then Najee Marshall for me. But there's all different iterations where these guys could rank differently for me. So if Jalen Smith plays and Zion's out, then Najee Marshall is my favorite of these three. If Jalen Smith is out, then Isaiah Jackson becomes my favorite guy, and Jalen Smith is my least favorite. So as things stand right now, I'm going to go Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson, Najee Marshall, keeping in mind that this could be reshuffled depending what happens with Zion Williamson and Jalen Smith himself. Super chat here from James Magruder. Best 6K or less play for utility, and it cannot be Santi Aldama or Kevin Huerter. All right, 6K. 6K. And anything, yeah, can't be Aldama or Huerter. Okay, if that's the case, I am going to give you PJ Washington. PJ Washington is the guy to go to at that price point for me, James. And then Avi Schreier says the 5 p.m. slate on FanDuel is some with Denver.
Probably on the, I don't know what time, West Coast.
But the main slate on FanDuel does not have the Denver game. Yeah, I don't know how to answer that. It's not on the Denver game is not on the it's not on the FanDuel main slate. I'll double check in the app here.
You're correct.
Yeah, not on. I'm trying to think, like, am I going crazy here or something? But yeah, it's not on the slate, Avi. Don't worry about the Jokic situation. All right, let's see what we have next here. We've got a question from Iron Maiden 2. Thoughts on Jonas Valanciunas with Nance out? I think Valanciunas looks good as is, with potential to be a really, really great option if Zion's out. But yeah, Valanciunas is somebody to definitely get exposure to at the center position. Then we've got Rico Rod 1980 for a FanDuel single entry. He wants to know Martin or Derrick Rose. Let's see. Also, which Martin?
Gotta be Cody Martin.
I'm gonna say Rose to give yourself a little bit more flexibility here. But Martin's also somebody to for sure play on FanDuel. Part of it also matters how contrarian is your lineup at the moment. Because if it's just points per dollar, I'm going to tell you to go with Martin. But if you already have an otherwise chalky lineup, you're looking to differentiate, then you go with Derrick Rose there. And also, we need the information to confirm that he's starting. Lee is speculating that he's going to start. Not confirmed. I do think there's a pretty good chance of that. But let's go with Derrick Rose for now. Jamie Bloss is asking us best option on DK in Roots for 4,800. I don't know what he means by in Roots. So I'm just going to say Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith is my favorite player, priced $4,800 or lower. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Oh, he meant in utility. Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith is going to be my answer. If you already have Jalen Smith in your lineup, then Derrick Rose is somebody you could consider. Cody Martin, another one. Lou Dort. So there's some alternative ones because I know you left that question just like a minute left. So I want to give you alternatives in case you already have them in there. And then as far as the rest of the questions, we got them all just as we were approaching lock here, Matt. So good job by us. We got through everything. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget that the next hour or so, we're expecting a good amount of injury news to come out. The show is ending, but Lee and I are still going to be on top of everything in the Discord channel. I'm going to be updating my lineups. Lee's going to be updating his lineups. Projections are going to be updated. And we'll be giving you guys all those updates in Discord. If you want to sign for any Stochastic package, which gets you access to Discord, sign up using the link that we have below. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Peace out.